Welcome to lecture 44 on our subject of gematria. As you probably noticed that I tend to use both Hebrew and English most of the time. I'm going to show in a later lecture how I use other systems of other languages as well. But this is an example, or this lecture will be an example of where I use Hebrew and English to show some meaning, some perhaps deeper meaning within the text of the Bible, of the Torah in specific. So this is going to be actually part of two lectures on magic squares. This one is going to be on Jacob's ladder, and you're saying, what's Jacob's ladder got to do with magic squares? Well, wait and see. Jacob's ladder is his dream. If you know the story in the Bible where Jacob is going away from his family, he's going to Haran, and on the way he sleeps overnight in a place which he calls Beit El, house of God, and he has a dream there of a ladder going up to heaven, and God's at the top there, and he talks to him, and the angels going up and down on this ladder. I remember talking to my uncle in Israel years ago, and he said it's not a ladder that we know, it's one of these square pyramids which were in Mesopotamia. So I thought that was a very interesting idea, and indeed that is what my gematria seemed to point out to what he saw. So a ladder doesn't stand on the ground and go up to heaven and not be supported by anything. What he was looking at was a pyramidal structure with this ramp going all the way up to the top, with the angels going up and down, as much as in real life there would have been priests going up and down. Now these square-based pyramids are called ziggurats, and they are found in Mesopotamia. Quite a few of them have 4 levels to them, which is quite interesting, because the rabbis say that there were 4 rungs to the ladder, that Jacob had a dream of. This is a book called Lag BaOmer. It's on one of the minor festivals in the Jewish religion, and it's basically based on the dream that Jacob has of this ladder. And later on, when he goes from that place where he has this dream, he goes to Haran, and there he meets Laban's daughters, and he gets married to Rachel and Leah. He marries Leah first and then Rachel afterwards, and he works for Laban for 7 years for Rachel, but Laban deceives him and gives him Leah instead, his eldest daughter. And then Jacob complains he's been deceived, and he said, well, you wait 7 days for the festivities of this marriage, and you can marry Rachel, for whom you can work for me for another 7 years. So he works 7 years, then 7 days there's the feasting, and then there's another 7 years that he works for. And that's followed by another 6 years where he works for his own gain, not just for his wife, but he gains for his own gain for sheep and goats, whatever he works for that year. Those 6 years he gains. And then he leaves without telling Laban in Hebrew. He leaves without him because he's scared that he might stop him and prevent him from going, because he's got 11 grandchildren by that time. And he goes on the way, and then Laban gets news of his fleeing him, and goes over to him with his sons and some men, and catches up. He has a dream the night before he meets Jacob, warning him from God that he shouldn't lay any hand and shouldn't touch Jacob and what is his at all. And they have a meeting, a bit of an argument, and then they make a peace agreement between them, that they will not attack each other. And Jacob builds this gull in Hebrew, for which is the reverse of lug. This is lag, which is this literally means lag ba'omer, means the 33rd day of the omer, because lag lamed is 30 in the normal value. Gimel is 3, so it's 33. which is 33 is the same gematria as magic in English. But Omer of the Omer is the sheaf of barley that they would gather on the second day of the Passover. Was taken and offered into the temple, and there were 49 days that were counted from that day to the festival of Shavuot, or Pentecost people call it in English. And on the 50th day was the day in which God gave the Ten Commandments and spoke to the Israelites at the foot of the mountain. So he speaks the Ten Commandments on that day, on the 50th day, but they're commanded to count 49 days. There's two places. One says they count 7 full weeks, another one says count 50 days. So what the contradiction is, what's this 50th day? I'm not going to go into that, but basically we count in Jewish law, we count 49 days. We say God counts the 50th day. That 50th day is actually not counted by us, but it's assumed because that day is the day in which the Torah is given. And I think I've already spoken about the idea of 50 as a circle, and the idea of liberation and freedom, and that's what the Torah, giving of the Torah was about. People think the Torah was given and it's enslaved mankind to all these moral laws, but the truth is that if man is even enslaved to God, he is enslaved to his inclination and to the physicality of this world. So the freedom from this world to be spiritually free and to be in control of one's life comes through the Torah. It doesn't come from being taken in by the whims of this society and the temptations of society. They are distractions from the true mission and the journey of which the soul is here for. So this book connects Lag BaOmer all the way back to this event of Jacob's dream, which might seem a bit far-fetched, but because this is a very special day in the Jewish calendar, the death of a very famous rabbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who died on Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer, and he told his disciples to celebrate his death because the soul goes up higher and higher on every anniversary of the death, so the soul goes up higher and higher. So, and particularly the soul of the righteous person can be found more in this world after he's died than when he's alive. It has a greater impact in this world. So let me get on with this story. This is lecture 44, which is quite interesting because the word ladder has a placement value of 44. So that's not a coincidence. So we'll see the relevance of that a bit later on. But as I said, it's not really a ladder in the sense. It's actually a ziggurat. I think the word cigarette, which you blow and has a fire at the end of it, but it's circular. Probably comes from the word ziggurat or the other way around. So we have a gematria here, a step pyramid, because this is what a ziggurat is a step pyramid. Has a large value of 884. That's the large value. And the ziggurat is 884, also in the large value. So they have the same value. So the ziggurat is actually a step pyramid. It's going up. A basic diagram of a step pyramid would be, I'm no great artist, something like this, and it has levels, different levels. I think the bottom level is usually the biggest level, the highest, and so each level will be, and then you get this fourth level, and that's the shrine at the top. There's the shrine at the top, and then there's this big ramp that will go down, something like that, and it has lots and lots of steps. Now I will give a lecture just on pyramids sometime because I'm writing a book on that, on pyramids from Mexico to Egypt, and there are other pyramids around the world. So my book will go in a little more detail about that, but pyramids come into my book on the $1 bill because it goes into the pyramid with the eye at the top, the cap stone that's missing, and it comes into this book as well in a bit. So these things are all linked together, believe it or not. You'll see in this lecture as well how I show some links. So what's interesting is that there are 4 levels, and actually I wanted to show you the picture that I found on a ziggurat, which was nice and colourful, and I stuck it into this book somewhere. So it's got 4 levels to it, maybe 2 it is. So there we are. There's a picture of a ziggurat, and you see it's got 4 levels to it, and it's got sort of stairways going up on either side. And it's got a main gangway or ramp going all the way up to the top part. So there are ziggurats with more than 4 levels. But this one I saw, and I think there are a few more with 4 levels. So the number 4 is quite interesting. We've also looked at the $1 bill when we looked at the pyramid and that. And if you go back to my lecture on that, you see how the number 4 comes into that as well. Because well, first of all, I'll show word 4 has the placement value of 60. That will be the large value of the letter D. Okay. Remember, that's the base of the pyramid. We've got pyramid, we've got the D. That's the bottom letter. That's D. That's the base of the pyramid, and it's for. I remember in the pyramid on the $1 bill, the year 1776 equals 456. So this has also then the word 4 is 456 in the normal value. So because that's 6. This is 60. This is 300. And R is 90, and you'll get 456. Okay, but its large value is 331. That's its large value. Now, if you take the word step equals 60, as does the word rung. So you've got the step as you're going up the ramp, and you've got rung as you go up a ladder. So the connection between this stairway and a ladder are pretty obvious, and the number 4 comes into this, it's 60. Okay, the word step also has the large value of 331. So it's equal to the word 4 in 2 ways. It's equal to the placement of the word 4, and it's equal to the word step in the word 4. Now, if I add these two numbers together, that is 60 and 331. So forget about the 456. Add 60 that I get 391, and that is the word star in the normal value. That's 100, that's 200, that's 1, and that's 90. So we get 390. I'll put the actual number. 391 as the normal value of the word star. What is the word star got to do with the ziggurat? So this is an astrological thing. This is not just this is something to do with the sun. We'll see in a minute, because when he has his dream, when Jacob has his dream, he calls this ziggurat a sulam. Well, sulam is the root of the word solar. Soul, the soul is like the only thing, the sole thing, the sole person. Right, is only because the sun is one. It's the only star in our system. So, at the basis of the ziggurat is this idea of sun worship, but that's not what becomes Jacob's dream, because he hears God speaking to him. So, but the ziggurat itself may well have something to do with a calendar, and or a direction, or time of the year, or even a sundial, in effect, because sundials would have like a ramp, like a way in which the sun would create a shadow. So I'd like to do a bit more research on that to see what archaeologists talk about in terms of what the ziggurat's use was. But it's generally taken to be built as a shrine for sun worship. But maybe the sun aspect of it is really no more than a calendar or time system. So now we know that in the creation story, that the sun and the moon and the stars were created on the 4th day of creation, which is quite interesting. So the word creation that's not really a good term for me to use, because the word creation, bara in Hebrew, is used only 3 times in the creation stories. In the very first verse, God created the heavens and the earth, and then it's used when it talks about the creation of the giant sea creatures, the Taninim Hagudolim. These are the term used there is not make or form or let there be, but the term create. And then when God makes man, the word create is used there as well. So with the sun, it doesn't say create. So it may be that the sun appeared but wasn't visible from the earth until the 4th day. It was created on the 1st day. So God created the heavens and the earth, whenever that was. But on the 4th day of creation, then it appears. So when we take the word for, which we've had as to be equal to 331 in the large value, if we take the word sun, it also equals 331 in the large value. So we see that the connection between the sun and the number 4. So this is all connected with this ziggurat, the sulam, the solar. The sulam, the word in Hebrew, so we've got the sal part, and then we've got a final mem, which is a square. So we get this idea of the square pyramid at the base. So let's look down my list. Okay, so now we come to later on when Jacob makes this peace agreement with Laban. He builds this heap. He takes a stone and he puts a heap around it, and he calls it a gal. He gives it a name Gal Aid, which means the heap or mound of testimony, a witness. This should be a witness to us that we're making a peace agreement. So the word stone, and the stone comes into Jacob's dream, because, well, actually not part of his dream, but before he falls asleep, he takes some stones from the place and he puts them for a head, to protect his head and his body, and then when he gets up, he says he takes this stone and he makes a matseva, a pillar from it, and he anoints it with oil and thanks God for his promise that he will bring him back to the land which he's in. And the rabbis say that it said stones to begin with, and then it says stone. So they say that the stones that were under his head came together to form, they merged together to form one stone. Okay? Keep that in mind as I go through this, because there's an interesting thing about this unity with these stones. But the word stone has a placement value of 73, but so does number. That equals 73, and so does Redeemer. And these are all connected. We'll see that there's a prophetic vision here of the coming of the Messiah. I'm not going to go in great detail into that, I'll just show a little bit. It goes into this book a lot more about redemption. The basic connection between Lag BaOmer and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who wrote the Zohar, is that within the Zohar it says that this book, the study of this book, will bring the Messiah, the redemption, and the final utopia that we were looking for. So, in other words, when Messiah comes, there's going to be peace and a new age. Let me rub. Well, so yes, we'll rub this off. So we've got the connection between stone, and we've got the connection between stone and number. So let's look first of all at the idea of this heap. The gal in English is translated as heap, and it has a placement value of 30, and it has a normal value of 84. That's NV. Right? In this case, P is now 70, A is 1, E is 5, and H is 8. Gives you 84. Okay? The word peace, because this is why it was made, has a placement value of 30, and it has a normal value of 84. Like for like, literally. Heap and peace have the placement values the same, and the normal value is the same. The so if we now look at the Hebrew, so you can see the purpose of this was built to bring peace. I want you to think about the number, keep the number 34 and 80, so 84 and 30 in your mind. I'll come back to that a bit later. The word sulam, which is what the vision had, the ladder, the Ziggurat, right? This has a large value of 251. That's the large value. And the word heap in the English has the value of 251, also in the large value. So we can see that what he dreamt was a heap of stones. He dreamt the Ziggurat. The Ziggurat is, in the end of the day, a heap, a pile of stones, put in a nice way. Okay, but did Jacob put his heap in a nice way as well? Did he build up something from that? No, I actually made a mistake there. The large value of heap is 221, which is an important number we'll see in a minute. And the placement value we had before was 30. So that is 251. That gives us the whole value. So we see the connection between the heap and sulam. Okay, this connection I will bring in now, because I've got this number here, 221. We had the number at the very beginning, the step pyramid and the Ziggurat. Step pyramid Ziggurat was 884 in the large value. Now if I divide that by 4, which is our magic number in this particular story, I will get 221. And that is the number which we have up here for the heap. So the connection between the step pyramid, or Ziggurat, and heap. So now I'm going to show how this goes to connect us with magic squares. But the first thing to ask is, what sort of heap did Jacob make? What was this sort of heap? This it says in the Bible that they sat on it and ate. So it must have just been like a pile of stones. You can't sit on a pile of stones. It was laid out in a way which had steps on it where they could sit. And there wasn't just a few of them. And after all, Jacob had 11 sons at that stage. And he had his 4 wives. And then was Laban and his sons and the men. And they all sat on this Ziggurat, which is, well, I'm calling it a Ziggurat, okay? This type of a Ziggurat. And sat down and had a meal. So let's have a look at what it could have been. I'm going to assume that it had 4 layers to it, because that's what was in Jacob's dream. He was reproducing something like what he saw in his dream. So what did he see in his dream? He saw a Ziggurat, and there was just squares going, I'm not very good at this, am I? There we are, something like that. Terrible. My level of perspective, and something like that. So each one is going up, and he's got one at the very top, right? This one at the top is just one. Okay, I'll tell you what it was. It was a stack. On this level, the first level, there were 49 stones. Okay. On this level, there were 25 stones. Then there were 9, and then there were 1. In other words, what he had was 4 magic squares. He had the first one, which is 1 stone, and we'll put the number 1 in there. The next stone, next layer down, that's the top. He has 9 stones. It's what we call the 3 by 3 magic square, where the middle number is 5. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And if you add up all of those rows, you get 15. Alright? At the bottom, you've got 438, which is Messiah in the large value. Okay? Then the next one would have had 5 stones. 5 by 5, not 5 stones, 25 stones. 5 by 5, because this will sit in the middle. These are odd ones because they can be stacked. Not very good. Okay, brilliant. 2, 3, 4. So the middle one there, 25 stones. Add 1 is 26. Half of it is 13. That's the middle number. Okay. You put 1 there, 2 there. You go up to diagonal 3. go up to that one, it comes down 4, 5, 2 to the left because you can't go anymore, 6, 1 up, which is over here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you can't go as you go 2 to the left, 2 to the right, 11, 12, got 13, 14, 15, can't go anywhere up because it's your blocks. You go 2 to the right, which is 16, 17 is down here, 18, 19, 20 is over here, 21 goes 2 to the right, 22, 23, what do we got? 2 to the right, 22, 23, 23, 24 and 25. Okay, all the ones in all these cases you'll find this is 10, 9 and 1 is 10, 4 and 6 is 10, 2 and 8 is 10, 3 and 7 is 10. Here it will be 26, 25 and 1 is 26, 12 plus 14 is 26, 8 plus 18 is 26, 24 plus 2 is 26, 7 plus 19 is 26, right? So you get all these opposites, 23 and 3 is 26, 26 is God's name. G-O-D or Yud-Keh-Vav-Keh. So that becomes the 5 by 5 one. And then the very bottom one, with 49 squares, it's a 7 by 7 magic square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the middle number there will be, you've got 49 plus 1 is 50, half of it is 25. So the middle one is 25. And then you can do the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 to the right, 8, 9. You can only do this with the odd numbers ones, right? And you keep going, 12 goes down to 13, 14. And what's very interesting about this is the what I would call warped space. That what appears to be flat, the flat Earth, is actually curved, because in order to get to the next number you have to wrap it around and wrap it around this way. That's how the magic squares work in the odd numbers. So so we have got 4 layers here, and we have these 4 magic squares represented by these layers. So I have got now a magic square here. What is its equal to? Each of the rows, each of the diagonals and columns will all have the same number. What is it equal to? It equals to 65. So every row will equal 65. 11 plus 4 is 15, plus 17, 15, 25, 32, 42, 52, 62, plus 3 is 65. So all the rows and the columns will equal 65. They equal 15, and that one equals 1. What about this one? If you finish it all off, you get 175. All the rows and all the columns equal 175. Okay? How many stones have you got altogether? You've got 1 plus 9 stones plus 25 stones plus 49. And that equals 84. That was heap. In other words, that's the normal value of word heap and piece. So we have a connection between these 4 levels of magic stones, or magic squares, represented by the individual stones that Jacob put there, representing the heap and representing peace. Okay? And this is Peradika. This is wondrous. This is quite remarkable. But there's much more to it than that. So we have okay, let's imagine about this idea of unity, because peace brings about unity, or unity brings about peace. They go hand in hand. So for example, we had the word, let me just make a bit of room now. We have the word ladder equaling 44 in the placement value. And what does the ladder do? The ladder unites the one level to another level. Okay, it brings a unity, brings a connection. In the case of Jacob's dream, this connection was a connection between him and God. Okay, between his descendants and God. And so this has to have some kind of sort of connection to unity. In fact, the word uni, as we get in the word university or universe. Universe means one verse. because God created the universe with one verse. So uni, that's 29, 21 plus I is 9, it's 30, and n is 14, it's 44. So the placement value of uni is also 44. In Hebrew, the word for unity, to come together, is yachad. Yachad is together, togetherness. So yachad has a placement value of 22. That's the PV. But because they're all in the units, it also has a normal value of 22, which added together will give you 44. So bring those together, they're exactly the same. Unity happens when two things have a similarity to them. So it comes together as one. And this is brought about by the number 4. I'll just rub this off because we had before that the word 4 had a normal value of 456, 456, that was its normal value. The word liberation, freedom, had 456 as its normal value. And union has a large value of 456. So there's a link between the idea of unity, union, togetherness, and 4. So okay, so part of the promise that God gives to Jacob is that his descendants will spread out to the north and the east and the south and the west. And they'll spread out, and eventually they'll come back again. So the idea of that spreading out is use the term of Yomar, Kedma, Tzvon and Negba. There are slightly different terms for like east in the verse of Jacob's story of the dream. So the word Kedma is east, which means before, because that's the way the sun comes up before it goes to the west. So Yama means the sea. In modern Hebrew we would talk about Ma'ariv as being the west, where the sun sets. But Yama is the sea because if you're in the land of Israel, so your west would be the Mediterranean Sea. So if you were to take all these Hebrew words together, and this is again connected to the number 4, because the number 4, I hope you saw that bit up there because it's perhaps below the line. Let's rub this off now. So in Hebrew it's Yomar, Kedma, Tzvona, Nun, and Negba. Okay, so those are the Hebrew words for west, east, north, and south. Negev in Hebrew, in Israel, land of Israel, the Negev is the south, the desert part there. And if I was to work out the placement values of all these, I'll get 28, 41, 54, and 24. And I add those together, this is the PV, and I'll get 147. Excuse me. And if I worked out the normal value, I'll get 55, I'll get 149, 225, and 60. And that will give me 489. And if I add those together, I get 636. And that we'll call the total value, the PV and the NV is the TV total value. And the Messiah in English equals 636, which is the large value. In Hebrew, it's HaMoshiach, the Messiah, HaMoshiach, and that has a value of 363, which is quite interesting. It's reverse digits. Okay. The number 147. Maybe I'll take another colour. Number 147 is the word, the magic square. okay, is 147. And if I take the word magic square, the words magic square, I will get 636 as the normal value, which is associated with these 4 different directions, because the magic square has to add up in all directions the same. And so in English, we'll use the words for English now for all these directions, and they would be north. No, actually, I'll use what's here. This is west. This is east, north, and south. Okay. So if you add those together, I haven't put down the individual numbers here, but if you add all the placement values together, you get 270. That's the placement value of all those. The screen is not going to last long. So associated with 270 is the word peace, which has a large value of 270, LV, and the word war, which has the large value of 270, opposites, complete opposites, and interestingly enough, the word eagle. Eagle has the large value of 270. Look at your $1 bill, and you see the eagle is looking not at the 13 arrows, but at the olive branch with 13 olives on it. Okay, what's 13? The word 13 in Hebrew is ahava, which means love. Ahava. Placement value or the normal value doesn't matter. It's 1 plus 5 plus 2 plus 5 is 13. Okay. There's also the value for the word echad. Echad means 1, and that is also 13, because love brings unity, makes something one. Okay. So if we now take, well, if we look at the eagle has a representation of both war and peace. With peace, it says, God says to the Israelites, I took you out of Egypt, I redeemed you from Egypt on eagle's wings. Okay? So the eagle represents redemption. In Judaism, it represents the Messiah. And in other cultures, like Rome and Germany, the eagle was a representative of war. It was on their banners when they went to war. So it has a duality to it. That's the eagle. The word eagle has a stronger power towards peace than war. Why? Because it has a placement value of 30. And that's peace. We have peace, the placement value of peace is 30. In other words, the word eagle equals peace in 2 ways. 270 in the large value and 30 in the placement value. Whereas war equals eagle only in one system. Okay? So the eagle has a stronger power towards signifying peace. Now, and that is brought about by Mashiach, because the word peace in Hebrew is shalom. And shalom has the same gematria as Mashiach, because shalom, I'm going to use another black pen now. Shalom has a placement value of 52.